Well, YouTube, time to rant and rave. A rave? Will there be ecstasy and pretty colors? No, you idiot, not that kind of rave. Anyways, YouTube, what is up? Back at you, Cool Cobras, with another video. Hope you all are staying safe and somewhat sane during these crazy quarantine times. Thankfully, Casper's not completely quarantined. A couple businesses have had to adjust their hours because of the crazy bullshit, but we're making do. I gotta go back to Ace Hardware tomorrow to get some more black spray paint, possibly, potentially. That's neither here nor there. Spoiler alert, this is a Sydney Watson video response. And if you don't like the video responses, there's the back button. And another spoiler alert, Sydney Watson's video and this video response is going to contain some sensitive material, subject matter not suitable for all audiences. If you're easily offended or you have younger ones in the room, I would not watch. Now, the topic of Sydney Watson's video is apparently violent and abusive women are less harmful. Amber Heard Johnny Depp case study. And ooh-wee. This is one of those videos where you're just like, I need a beer. Because it's about to get all kinds of uncomfortable. Luckily, I have some blueberry Red Bull and some Rolling Rock. I'm not drinking any more Red Bull after this. I've already had 2. Giddy up. Look, I made purple beer. But purple beer tastes like blueberries. Keep in mind, I don't drink energy drinks as often as I used to. Every once in a while, I'll buy them just because I like the taste. And the jittery awesomeness you get from being gacked out on caffeine. So without further ado, let's get into it.
What can I say? I'm super predictable. So you guys probably knew this was coming. Hi, my name is Sydney. Welcome back to my channel. Before we get on and do the thing, today's video is sponsored by Surfshark. Many thanks. At this point in life, the majority of us know and understand that women, just as much as men, can be terrible, terrible people.
You are so right, Sydney Watson. I'm going to drink to that. Yes, by this point, we are aware of the fact that women and men are full of terrible people. You have this collective. In the middle, you have good people, women and men who are nice people. And on the extremes of either end, you have the cunts and the pig assholes that are horrible people. Pardon my French. Women and men who are just terrible people. Women and men who give their gender a bad name. Women and men who, even though their actions are wrong, they still contribute to the way society treats us. I talk about adding insult to injury. Now, we tend to think that assholes should not dictate our world, but they kind of do. All the bullshit that people do, we adjust our actions accordingly to the assholes and what they do. It's kind of, I get why we do it, because we want a society where there's less horrible people, but anyways.
I like to think about it as an evolutionary thing. The brighter the creature, usually the more poisonous it is.
Sydney Watson's sense of humor. I like Sydney Watson's sense of humor. It's, you know, it's a break from the manic rants, and she'll cut away and do like some joke, you know. It makes the videos a little less depressing.
Nature's fun like that. And even though we're aware of this fact, we continue to associate men most often with negative characteristics like violence or just generally being fighty people. I mean, we also associate them with cool things too, like superheroes and doctors. In saying that, it's probably hard to feel like any Avenger when you're constantly being painted as Thanos. But every so often...
Yes, we live in a society where men are perpetrated as violent, war-hungry, sex-hungry creatures that must quench their thirst and conquer and, you know. We also associate men with superheroes like the Avengers, etc., etc., but it's kind of hard, and Sydney Watson's point basically is it's kind of hard to be painted as Batman when society sees you as the Joker. Yeah.
An event happens that forces us to turn our attention to female abusers, which is what we're going to talk...
Oh yeah. We'll rewind that a bit.
But every so often, an event happens that forces us to turn our attention to female abusers, which is what we're going to talk about today.
Yes, sir. In this here particular video, Sydney Watson's going to talk about female abusers and their impact on the world around us. Because if a man talked about female abusers, he would be labeled a misogynistic, sexist, woman-hating pig. That's just the sad truth of it.
Because I love loading you guys up with happy topics. You're welcome.
You will never understand what I went through.
Insert clips of women being abusive.
You never were a good listener. A good listener. You will never understand what you put me through. And you never be a good lover. A good lover.
And I'm screaming at the top of my lungs.
That she might seduce a helpless child into sex play is unthinkable. And even if she did so, what harm can be done without a penis? To many of you, this quote from 1972 might sound totally crazy. But like...
Yes, there's a quote from 1972 that says, "How can women be sexual abusers? They don't have a penis." To many of you, this quote may sound ridiculous, and this is why this video contains sensitive topic material, and this is why we need to drink while doing this video. Now, it's bad enough we associate men with violence and aggression, and now we're going to take it a step further and say, how is it rape if she doesn't have a penis? Which is just as bad as the way we treat men when it comes to rape in general. Oh yeah, we'll get into that.
Other literature at the time, it reflects the widely held belief that sexual abuse of children by female perpetrators isn't harmful. Apparently, you have to have a man pickle for that to apply. Don't yell at me. I didn't make the rules. And even though we know that abuse is impactful no matter the perpetrator, this idea persists in some circles today, that female child sex offenders are less damaging to their victims than their male counterparts. Funnily enough, we see this play out all the time with teachers. Think about every story you've ever heard about concerning a female teacher and her male student. Society is almost always more concerned about how hot or not hot she is, rather than the victimization itself. Whereas male teachers are viewed as rapists or pedophiles, and their actions are almost never justified.
Purple beer, it tastes like blueberries. But it tastes like blueberries, and it's purple. Exactly, Sydney Watson. That is the cold truth of it. When it comes to this topic, if a female teacher molests her underage male students, society is always obsessed with how hot is she? How attractive is she? But when a male teacher molests his female students, people look at him like he's a gross pervert and a pedophile and a piece of shit. Yeah, that's the sad truth of it. And don't yell at me, I'm not the one that makes the standards. Real talk though, if it's seen as gross or offensive when males do it, it should be seen as gross or offensive when females do it. Even though the 1972 quote saying that how could females be rapists, they don't have a penis, even though the idea of this concept seems crass and ridiculous, we do see the way it plays out in today's culture. And Sydney Watson makes the fair point by pointing out the example that, like I said, when female teachers molest their male students, society is never really concerned about why she did it. It's how hot she is. And look at that stud, he's getting himself some, right? But when a male teacher molests his female students, he's seen as a pervert, a creep, and a molester. And, you know, why aren't female teachers who do this kind of crap held to the same accountability? Because of the way society grooms men when it comes to sex. That's why. Oh yeah, we're going to get into that too.
Because that's called grooming. And it's not okay.
It's precisely what it is, grooming. Society likes to groom people to fit that mold. This idea of the perfect person, where men are always their strongest and women are always their prettiest and blah blah blah.
No matter how nice her teeth are. But downplaying female violence, no matter the environment, has been a prevailing attitude for a long time. Somehow, for some reason, we view these actions of women across the board as less destructive.
So why is it that when females are sex offenders, when females are abusive, their behavior pattern is viewed as less destructive? Oh, believe me, we're going to get into that too. And when you hear why people think and why society thinks that the same behavior exhibited by females is less destructive, it's going to make your skin crawl. It's probably going to make your skin boil. Again, I'm not the one who writes these standards. This is society that we live in. This is the society we live in. I'm just here to bitch about it.
Until you tell your girlfriend that she can't have any of your fries, even though she just said like 5 minutes ago that she wasn't hungry, and now she's throwing plates at you.
Here's the thing of it. You ask your girlfriend, hey baby, do you want some of my fries? And she says, no, I'm not hungry. And then 5 minutes later she throws a fit because you didn't share your fries with her. You just got done eating them. And you're sitting there looking at her like, are you on crack? I just offered you some and you said you weren't hungry. And then women complain because men don't communicate the same way they do. Here's the thing of it, sweetheart. If you want some of his fries, then ask. Don't sit there and say you don't want any of his fries and expect him to be like, that's female talk for she wants some of your fries. Oh boy. This is why gender relations suck. Because women will say the exact opposite of what they want and then get pissed off because their man can't read their mind. And after that bullshit goes on for just long enough, men quit listening and quit caring because they're like, what's the point? And half the time, men don't listen because they don't care. And the other half is because, oh hey, She's speaking flim-flam. I asked her if she wanted some of my French fries, and she said no, and then when I ate them all, she just gave me this look like, you asshole. Like, what? I offered my French fries, you said you didn't want any. We were just at the counter ordering fast food. If you wanted fries with your meal, you should have got them. But then when I tried to offer them, some of mine to you,
But this perception of women hasn't been without consequence. Men and boys have been conditioned to think that a woman can't sexually assault them, that they should relish any opportunity for sex, even when it's unwanted.
Yep, that's about the truth of it. Men have been conditioned and groomed to always want sex, to think that women cannot be sexual or physical abusers, to always want sex no matter what, even if it's unwanted. And this is why drinking beer with this video will help you get through it. I mean, you don't have to drink to watch this video, but
Women, on the other hand, have been taught that their inappropriate, invasive actions are cute. Ladies, they are not. Female perpetrators are less likely to be investigated, arrested, and punished.
Whereas men have been groomed to always want sex, women are being groomed to think that their invasive or inappropriate actions are seen as acceptable. They're not. And furthermore, we see women who commit crimes and their actions go unpunished, unchecked, or all of the above.
They're less likely to be studied, and the effects of their actions are more likely to be downplayed. And with that all being said, the law has more or less supported this position, either by handing down less serious sentences to female offenders, or by having narrow, outdated definitions of things. Even up until 2013, the FBI's definition of rape only acknowledged female victims, leaving victimized men and their female abusers completely off the table.
What? Hold up. You're telling me that up until 2013, the FBI's definition of rape only included women, leaving male victims and their female perpetrators out of the question? It took till 2013 to acknowledge that men can be victims too. Which the idea that a man could be a victim too is shocking to our society. And the only reason it's shocking to our society is because society grooms men to always be their toughest, to never show emotion. So when men are expected to be their toughest, the idea of a man being a victim is laughed at. It's seen as comical or amusing. Again, don't yell at me. I'm not the one that makes the standards. I'm just the one who bitches about them.
I've said this before in other videos, but we typically view women as more nurturing, caring, and protective, and therefore less likely to be dangerous and harmful. But disappointingly, this view means that society holds very few female offenders and perpetrators to account.
Oh, and we have figured it out. We asked the question earlier, why is it that when women do the same repulsive bullshits that men do, their actions are not accountable, their actions are seen as less offensive, or they go unpunished or unchecked? The first biggest reason is exactly what Sydney Watson said, because society views women as mother-like, nurturing, or caregiving. And because women are viewed as nurturing, mother-like, their actions go unpunished. And that's not the only reason, YouTube. The female form is overly sexualized and worshipped in our society on top of it. So This is why women get away with a lot more crap. This is why if you got some horny ass male cop pulling over a female speeder, she could be like, oh hey, I'll show you my tits if you don't give me a ticket. Fucking flashes them. And the cop's like, hey, you know what? Those are nice. That made my day. You know what? I'm not going to give you a ticket. Just behave yourself. Okay. But then turn around, and if it's a female cop pulling over a male, hey, I'll flash you my dick if you let me off with a ticket. You know what she's going to look at him and say? You're a fucking pig and a pervert, and I'm charging you with sexual harassment. I mean, you take a male cop pulling over a female, and if the female casually and discreetly says, hey, I'll flash my tits, just don't give me a ticket, the cop's not going to sit there and say, that's sexual harassment if he's, you know, like, come on, dude. Like, he's going to look at her and be like, yeah. If he's a professional at his job, he's going to say, ma'am, there's no need to do that. Got to give you a ticket because you're speeding. And, you know. But if he's a crooked cop, he'll be like, yeah, show me them tits. Those are nice. You know what? Your tits are nice. I'll let you off with a warning. This time, but next time, yeah, I'm not going to be so friendly. Gotta slow down, missy. Slow down, ma'am. Kind of thing. Yeah, no, dude. But seriously, if you have a female cop pulling over a male driver and he tries pulling some shit like that, like, ma'am, I'll flash you my dick and balls, just let me off the ticket. You know what she's gonna do? She's gonna cuff the bastard and sue him for sexual harassment. Are you kidding me?
Or, in the very least, to the same standards as men. Because if you didn't get them...
Yeah. Rewind it.
Less likely to be dangerous and harmful. But disappointingly, this view means that society holds very few female offenders and perpetrators to account, or in the very least to the same standards as men.
Because the fucking society we live in worships and overly sexualizes the female form, and because females are seen as mother-like, nurturing, or as caregivers, disappointingly enough, yes, their privilege and their crimes go unchecked because of the standards in our society. At the very least, they're held accountable for their actions just like men. But at the most extent of it, they get away with it because, you know, pussy privilege. Which, to be fair, men and women have privilege, and men and women are also victims. Think about it.
Because if you didn't get the memo, only men can be rapists and murderers. Thanks, feminism. Serious?
I need another beer. 1 second. Note the cheeky reference. Thanks, feminism. Unfortunately, feminazi agenda, aka radical feminism, has infiltrated the feminist movement. Holy crap, this sounds familiar. I've said this before on a lot of my videos, but extremist feminist views excuse me. Extremist feminist views have infiltrated the feminist movement to such a degree, that any time a radical feminist does something remotely sexist towards men or acts extreme, etc., etc., it gives the whole movement a bad name. That sounds really familiar. I've literally said that on several other videos, to be quite honest.
Why didn't I get the memo? Because you can't read. Now let's take the Amber Heard Johnny Depp case for example.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. The Amber Heard Johnny Depp case. Because up to this point, you're like, we've talked about how women are able to get away with domestic violence, whereas men are shunned for it. Now we're going to talk about the Amber Heard Johnny Depp case as an example. Yep, it's going to get really uncomfortable in here. If you're not already uncomfortable by watching this video,
memo, because you can't read. Now let's take the Amber Heard Johnny Depp case for example. For months the actress claimed that Johnny Depp was repeatedly violent during their marriage. Her bruised face was plastered on the cover of People magazine, and she even wrote an opinion piece about her experiences as a victim of domestic violence. She became the poster child for abused women everywhere, and people were very quick to believe her story.
Alright, so Amber Heard accused her ex-husband, Johnny Depp, of being an abusive piece of shit. Overnight, she became this poster child for abused women everywhere. And people were quick to attack Johnny Depp, telling J.K. Rowling to let him go from the Fantastic Beasts series because he's a piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. But wait, there's more to the story.
They were also quick on the other side to condemn her ex-husband. In fairness to Johnny, he did say that she painted on her bruises, which, I mean, I don't not believe that. Yeah, you also believe that mermaids existed for a little while because you watched a fake documentary about them. Oh my god, that was one time! But finally, when Depp decided to sue his ex-wife for defamation, because, you know, you can't just write random articles claiming that your ex-husband beat you, we learned that our girl Amber is an abuser as well.
What? So when Johnny Depp sued his ex-wife for defamation for the cool lump sum of $50 million, we learned that Amber Heard is also an abuser. Stop the fucking presses. Could you imagine for 1 second being the poster child for abused women everywhere? Women who have seriously been abused, looking up to you as a voice of reason and a voice of hope. And then people find out that you yourself are an abusive cunt. Holy shit. It's a little bit chilly in here. I have the window open because, I'm working on projects that involve spray painting, so we'll just leave it at that. Oh, and the irony. That, okay, and Jennifer Heard's case, that would be like, literally, if up in public you're just like, you shouldn't smoke tobacco. It's bad for your health. It can cause cancer and all kinds of shit. And then behind closed doors you're just like, where's my tobacco pipe? Pack. I need a fix, goddammit. That would be like being the poster child for anti-tobacco and then find out you smoke cigarettes behind closed doors. Could you imagine? And watch what happens when people found out that maybe Amber Heard is not so innocent in this story after all. Let's watch and see what happens.
In a series of leaked audio recordings, at first we heard her admit to punching Depp in the face, downplaying it and then calling him a baby, because I guess equality. Then we heard more audio where Heard said that nobody would believe him, and that the court would side with her, again mocking him for being a victim. And most recently, we heard again about Heard smashing a door into Depp's head before punching him in the face. I just really feel like maybe we should create an island for terrible people.
Okay, another example of this, and the way when they had, after Johnny Depp sued his wife, he released audio recording of his wife abusing him and saying, nobody would believe you, Depp, because people always take the female side, blah, 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 and blah, 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 and then mocked him for being a victim because men are expected to be their toughest, and if they're getting their ass kicked by a girl, they're a huge pussy, apparently. And once people heard the leaked audio, they're just like, whoa, holy shit. And what happened after that?
And just send them there. Maybe then Hillary Clinton will get to be president of something. I'm pretty sure they did that already, Sydney. It's called Australia. So not Canada. That's not even an island. Now, regardless of your opinions towards Depp as a person and as an actor, it's fair to say that he probably doesn't deserve to be abused. And on top of that, we'll probably also never know whether or not he too was violent in the marriage. But when this particular story broke, people finally had to acknowledge a serious and undeniable case of male victimization.
Oh yeah. When the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case broke and they found out that Amber Heard wasn't so innocent after all, it's like, okay, let's address the huge elephant in the room. Men can be victims too. #MeToo. And of course this made people feel uncomfortable because the way society grooms people. Society likes to groom people to where women are the universal victim and men are the universal perpetrator / hero. Yeah, it's weird.
People called for her to be fired from Aquaman 2. They started trending hashtags calling her an abuser, and it generally seemed like a lot of people actually wanted justice for Depp. But as with a lot of things in this day and age, almost as quickly as that condemnation erupted, almost overnight, it just disappeared.
Wait, so once they found out that Amber Heard was not so innocent, people pulled the same shit they pulled on Depp, telling the Avengers, oh, you shouldn't have her on your movie because blah, blah, blah. People using hashtags, calling her an abuser. People demanding justice for Depp. And then overnight, the hype for it just died. What the fuck? When you hear why the hype for it just died down. When you hear why the hype died down when the genders were flipped, you're gonna flip your lid. So grab a beer because it's about to get really uncomfortable in this room.
And even as more and more information about the situation arose, people just stopped caring. and Amber Heard's culpability and any consequences for her actions seem to disappear along with the public's concern. But you know, even though people stopped being concerned about Johnny Depp, it doesn't mean they're going to stop being concerned about their internet activities. Which is why today's video is sponsored by Surfshark. Surfshark is a VPN, or virtual private network, that helps you keep your online activities safe and private. Because as you all know, the internet is a weird place, full of weirdos who want to hack you and sell your private information. Kind of like Apple and Facebook. Surfshark is great for increasing your online safety and privacy, not just from hackers and malware, but from your internet service provider and the government. Not today, FBI. Not today. Using Surfshark, you can easily browse the internet without being traced, so you can do all of your online activities anonymously. Yes, that's right. It will indeed stop people from finding out about your affinity for tentacle porn. I personally love Surfshark because you can use it on as many devices as you like, but namely because it lets me bypass country restrictions, which comes in handy if you're like me and you're disappointed with Netflix in your country. I prefer Australia's for bad shows like Rick and Morty and Riverdale. I'm not ashamed. Use code Sydney to receive 83% off and an additional month free. Surfshark also offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk in trying it out. So click the link in the description and support the company that supports my weird content. Now, I personally could not understand why Amber Heard was not being held to account. If she'd been a man, she probably would have been Harvey Weinstein. Or worse, Jeffrey Epstein. Or feminist-steamed. How do you keep getting in here? When a woman is murdered, a wife is abused, or a child is molested by a man, the story is everywhere. It's in the news, on talk shows, and eventually results in a candlelit vigil and people marching down the street. When the same happens in reverse, there's rarely any coverage, and if there is, then there's no public outcry. And it isn't because it doesn't happen. It's because it's too uncomfortable or uninteresting to admit that it does.
Oh my fucking god. Now we examine the truth of it. Yeah. Now you're wondering, why was Amber Heard not held accountable for her actions? If it had been a man who did the things that Amber Heard did, he would be held accountable for his actions. He would be ridiculed for life. And another sad truth, because here's the thing of it. If a man, a piece of shit man, molests a child or rapes a woman or beats a woman, it's all over the news. People talk about it. But if a woman does the same thing, a piece of shit cunt of a woman does the same thing, nobody talks about it. Simply because, one, it's not as interesting, and two, it's too uncomfortable to talk about. But real talk, if you think it's more interesting when men do it than when women do it, then you're a part of the problem. This male baiting, male bashing bullshit in our society.
Data from the US Department of Health says that women are the most common perpetrators of child maltreatment. Government data from Britain actually confirms this view as well. Mothers, for example, are most responsible for infanticide, especially within the first 24 hours of a baby's life. And yet, when I look up child abuse and infanticide, all the results that I see talk about males as the primary abuser, which they can be. Don't get me wrong. Do not yell at me, Susan. I am aware. When we hear about females committing sexual assault or rape, we're almost surprised. People can't seem to reconcile how a man might let that happen, and even if he did, how could he not enjoy it?
Yeah. And this is the core problem with male rape. If a man is raped, people look at it as, one, how could he not enjoy it? I thought all men wanted was sex. And two, how could he let it happen because he's supposed to be the big, bad, strong male?
According to the CDC, for example, over a year period, men and women were equally likely to experience non-consensual sex, with 79% of men reporting a female perpetrator. And even of the men who have experienced sexual coercion or unwanted sexual contact, 68% of them also had female perpetrators. Even in prisons where we have a long-held belief that sexual abuse is committed by male staff and male inmates, some research actually shows that women are much more likely to abuse one another at higher rates than their male counterparts and by male prison staff. This even goes on in juvenile institutions where the majority of young offenders report sexual victimization at the hands of a female staff member. And yet our view of this topic almost always involves a male perpetrator and a female victim. Even when we look at child sexual abuse, the idea is basically the same. An article by The Atlantic looks at several studies, reporting that researchers have found that victims who experience childhood sexual abuse at the hands of both women and men are more reluctant to disclose the victimization perpetrated by women. Indeed, the discomfort of reporting child sexual victimization by a female perpetrator can be so acute that a victim may instead inaccurately report that his or her abuser was male.
Okay. Let's look up the word acute, shall we? It's a fancy dictionary word. Acute.
Here's the definition of acute: of a bad, difficult, or unwelcome situation or phenomenon, present or experienced to a severe or intense degree.
Okay, so acute basically means an uncomfortable or inappropriate or bad situation, either presently or currently experienced, to an intense degree. And when the grooming of our society is so bad that honestly one could argue that sexual abuse from women can be just as bad as sexual abuse from a man, because children who go through this crap at the hands of a female perpetrator are so traumatized because their whole life they're being groomed to think women are mothers, nurturing and caregiving, not vicious monsters like men. So when they do these disgusting, deplorable behaviors, their grooming has caused them to a point to say that their abusers were men just because, and it's sad. They're so traumatized by a woman doing it for a change that they're like, nope, he was a male. That's how bad our society grooms people in general, and it's just, ugh. Fuck pedophiles, dude. Straight up. I hate pedophiles more than I hate my fucking trolls. Ugh, dude. Okay, let me make this clear. If you are sexually attracted to children, you need to be shot in the goddamn head. Okay? If you are sexually attracted to children, you need to have a bullet put between your eyes. That's how I feel. Why the fuck are we persecuting homosexuals? We should be persecuting pedophiles. Fuck pedophiles, dude. I hate pedophiles and rapists more than I hate my trolls, to be brutally honest.
It feels really inappropriate to make a joke here, so here's a photo of me. By a female perpetrator can be so acute that a victim may instead inaccurately report that his or her abuser was male. It feels...
So basically, according to a 1996 study done in London, sexual abuse at the hands of females can be so damaging and so traumatic that the victims often report their abusers as being male because they feel like, one, nobody will believe them if they say a female did it, and two, you know, they're psychologically fucking scarred from it happening because of the way society sees women. Women are seen as mothers, caregiving, nurturing, etc. So when this kind of thing happens at the hands of a female perpetrator, it's shocking and seen as something that just doesn't happen. Ugh, dude. And if the male is old enough, most people don't see it as a problem. They're just like, oh, how hot was she? Nice. That dude got laid. And I fucking hate it.
It's really inappropriate to make a joke here, so here's a photo of me eating a burger instead. And a photo of me as a child, dressed as Batman, jumping off a couch. 'Cause apparently it's more important to take photos of this moment than stop me from jumping off the couch. Thanks, Mum. Anyway, I hope that breaks this depressing, tense moment. Now we turn the page to domestic violence, where the view has long been held that males are the universal perpetrator and women are the universal victim. But contrary to popular belief, there's research that either tells us that rates of domestic violence by men and women are equivalent, or that female abusers are increasing drastically in numbers. In America alone, over 48% of men have experienced psychological and emotional abuse at the hands of their partners, and up to 29% of straight men have been a victim of physical violence by a partner in their lifetime. And these are just the numbers that we have, considering that many male victims don't even report their experiences out of embarrassment and shame. So
that right there is the core problem with domestic rape or domestic abuse or domestic violence against men, is if the rape, abuse, or violence is perpetrated by females against males, it goes unreported because society grooms people and grooms men to always be their toughest. So the idea of a woman raping you or kicking your ass is seen as funny or laughable, like, you're a male, please. You can take it, you're tough. Ugh, dude.
with all this in mind, the question is, why do we hold female abusers to different standards or ignore them altogether? When the Amber Heard situation
Why do we hold female abusers to a different standard? First of all, you answered it yourself. You said it's because of the way society sees women. Second of all, sexism, racism, domestic violence, sexual abuse, physical abuse, all of it can just piss off. I gotta take a piss. I'll be right back. Because apparently drinking lots of beer makes you pee. Now, after taking a piss and washing my hands, let's get back to it. After taking a piss and washing my hands, let's get back to it.
With all this in mind, the question is, why do we hold female abusers to different standards or ignore them altogether?
The question Sydney Watson asks, why do we hold female abusers to less of a standard or ignore them altogether? I think we've already answered that. It's because women are seen as mother-like, nurturing, or caregiving, and because the female form is overly sexualized in our society. But I feel like there's one more reason, there has to be one more reason why women are not held accountable. Not just because society expects men to be the tougher sex, mind you. There has to be another reason.
When the Amber Heard situation emerged, it seemed that maybe the tide would turn, that people would finally view women as more than stereotypically nurturing and loving. But maybe we're not hardwired to think like that. And maybe it's that we don't want to think like that. Part of the problem is that we don't understand female abusers well at all. And several research articles that I came across pointed this out. That our society largely fails to recognize female offenders, which allows them to avoid detection, prosecution, and interventions. And if we don't even think that female abusers exist, then why would we waste energy discussing or researching them? But when we do talk about female abusers, we typically view them as less impactful, especially when it comes to domestic violence. People hit and abuse family members because they can. And in today's society, as reflected in TV, movies, and feminist doctrine, women are openly given permission to hit men. For example, a woman slapping a man in the face is rarely, if ever, viewed as domestic violence.
And that's another reason. Okay, here's the reason. The reason why women, the third reason why abusive women go unchecked in our society is because stereotypically women are seen as less strong than men. I'm not the one who makes the double standards. Again, I just bitch about them. But because women are stereotypically seen as less strong than a man, therefore people think, well, how is it abuse, or how can she hurt because she's physically not able to, blah, blah, blah. On top of that, women are allowed to hit men without it being questioned as abuse or otherwise. Men are being raised to never hit women, to be a gentleman, to always be your toughest. But women are being raised to hate men. Oh, and it's perfectly okay to hit them. Yeah, fuck men. Pieces of shit. Fucking rapists, male pigs. The lot of them, I tell ya. Which is why we have the standards we have. If a man walks up to a chick and says, "Hey baby, nice tits," and she turns around and right across the face, fucking slaps him and calls him a fucking pig and then walks off. No one says, "Oh hey, that's female violence against men." But if a woman walks up to a dude and says, "Nice ass," and he slaps her across the face and says, "I'm not a sex object, I'm a person," people look at him and go, "You're a piece of shit, why do you hit women?" Oh, kind of like if a man has a temper, some women might say, I'd totally date that person, but he has a temper, so But if a man rejects a woman because she has a temper, that woman freaks out and says, why? Because you can't handle a strong woman, that's why, you pussy. I don't know.
In a recent study, about 50% of men and women thought it was okay for a woman to hit a man. Some even said that they knew that they could not do too much damage because of their size.
Right there. In a study done in 2006, 50% of women and men thought it was okay for a woman to hit a man. With these global attitudes, it is no wonder some women feel the same. Okay, so in a recent study noted in Gells, Gells, 2006, about 50% of men and women thought it was okay for a woman to hit a man. With these global attitudes, it is no wonder some women feel justified in slapping their partners. Some even said they knew they could not do too much damage because of their size. They therefore minimized their actions and denied it was abuse at all. Okay, so it's a combination of women underestimating their strength and women playing the victim, and then men being pigs. That's what this study tells me. You know, dynamite comes in small packages. A lot of men might think, oh hey, look at her. She's not very big. What kind of damage could she do? Hey, you'd be surprised. A lot of women think, oh well, I'm not very muscular like my other half. What damage could I do? Oh jeez. So the fact that you even got women who are like, okay, out of the 100% of women and men they studied, half of them said, what damage could a woman do because of her size? Like, holy crap, women have been groomed to the point where where they think they can't do much. They think because of their size. 6, so opinions might have shifted, but maybe opinion has changed, maybe opinions have shifted. But according to a 2006 study, you know, and who knows how the study might have changed in the course of X amount of years, but
they therefore minimized their actions and denied it was abuse at all. Holding men...
Okay. Which, you know, because some of these women feel like, hey, they can hit a man and get away with it because how can they do any real damage? Because, you know, men are supposed to be their toughest and blah, 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 so he can take it. So how is it damage? How is it abuse? Really? You know, and that's the problem with it. Not only are you victimizing yourself as a woman when you think like that, but you're also man-shaming. You know, if women are going through some bullshit and try to explain why they're going through that bullshit, Nobody stops them mid-sentence and says, "You're girl guilting, shut the fuck up." But if a man tries to explain himself, he gets told, "Oh, you're just mansplaining, shut the fuck up."
Men and women to different standards has implications across the board.
Oh, yeah, that's another one of those drink because it's true. Holding women and men to different standards has created implications across the board. I will drink to that, Sydney Watson. Absolutely. That's the truth of it.
And it's dictated much of our justice system and the conversations we have around gender relations. Some of it is innocuous, but some of it has genuinely negative impacts on both men and women.
Yes, the double standards that have been placed upon the genders have led to us having conversations that are uncomfortable, or the way women and men view each other, etc., etc. Yeah, that's about the truth of it.
But unsurprisingly, trying to bring this conversation to the forefront often results in backlash. Feminist voices typically insist that directing the conversation away from female victims undermines the message of support and unity that we should be putting out. But broadening our understanding and the definitions of abuser and victim is actually in everyone's best interest.
I agree. Here's the thing of it. And, this is a very uncomfortable video to make, but a lot of women feel like that if you completely ignore the crap that women have had to gone through to get to the equality they have today, you're undermining the message of female equality. So, I agree with that, but here's the thing of it. Men today are not as awful as men of yesteryear used to be. And this is exactly how women felt back in the day. They're just like, hey, you know what? These men are getting away with shit. It's not right. It's sexist. It's blah, blah, blah. Where's our rights? Okay, that's exactly how women felt fighting for their rights. And now men get a taste of it and we complain about it, but this is one of those situations where you're just like, not the conversation I want to have right now. Because you can't argue with that conversation and both sides are right. Women are right in the sense of, yes, women's suffrage. Women have had to fight for their rights. You know? So they have every right to be pissed off. But men are also right in the sense of men aren't the same as they were in the 1950s. I mean, if a man in the 1950s said, get back in the kitchen, it would be met without question, without anything. But if you told a woman that today, you'd probably get the fucking shit beat out of you. And the second you try to raise your hand in self-defense, even though she struck the first blow, you'd be labeled as a piece of shit man who hits women. That's the kicker of it, is women can beat the shit out of you, but the second you raise your hand to defend yourself, you're the piece of shit who hits women. Like I said, it's going to get really uncomfortable in here. People don't want to acknowledge that cold, ugly truth, but, well, that's why I'm here. And true, a lot of women are going to hate me for saying it, but I get hated on anyways, so it's really no different.
It will open the door to support networks, funding, and changes to the justice system and victim is actually in everyone's best interest. It will open the door to support networks, funding, and changes to the justice system out. But broadening our understanding and the definitions of abuser and victim is actually in everyone's best interest. It will...
Yes, broadening our perspective of victim/abuser is in everyone's best interest. I agree.
Will open the door to support networks, funding, and changes to the justice system and policing, and hopefully to our overall understanding of this issue. At the end of the day, we want men and women to be treated equally. Part of that involves acknowledging that women can be just as aggressive, violent, and damaging as their male counterparts.
Yep. At the end of the day, that's what we want. Gender equality. And part of gender equality is acknowledging that women can be just as violent, harmful, and aggressive as their male counterparts. Yep.
And unfortunately, the longer that we ignore female abusers and refuse to have this conversation, the more that we say that their actions are okay. Now,
Yep. The longer we ignore the woman's part in the bullshit, the longer we continue to blame men for everything, is more time suffering with gender relations. And part of gender equality is being able to say, hey, you know what? Women are just as responsible for the bullshit in our society just as much as men. And the longer we continue to downplay female abusers, the longer we continue to accept it as that's just how it is. And this is what gets me about it, okay? This is what gets me about it. If women complain about sexism, they rally, they march, and they protest, it gets changed. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, it's just that's how it is. Woman complained, hear her roar, now she has what she wants. But if men complain about sexism, we get told, oh, tough it up, pussy. Quit being a crybaby. Suck it up, you pansy. Oh, that's just how it is. Suck it up, you pussy. Oh, but I forgot. I'm not allowed to complain about this kind of stuff because I gotta check my privilege.
Before I open the floor to you, this is just a reminder that you can download Surfshark VPN using the link in the description. When you do, you'll receive 83% off and an additional month free. So go check them out because they support my weird little channel and my weird little corner of the internet, and I appreciate that. Now I open the floor to you. What do you all think? Do we actually treat male abusers and female abusers differently? Do we downplay female abusers? Should we be giving this issue much more attention? And what do you generally make of this topic overall? As always, if you like the video, hit subscribe and the thumbs up button. If you want to leave a comment, feel free to do so. Just be respectful about it. And I will see you guys next time. Stupid mean Sydney asking me how I got in here. How do you think I got into my ex-boyfriend's apartment to steal all his furniture, Sydney? Smashed all the windows.
What up, it's you?
Alright, so do I think that females are downplayed when it comes to these issues? Yes. Based on the anecdotal evidence in that video, women are held to a less standard than men. What do I think about it? I think it's disgusting. I think if men are told you can't do this, and for good reason, then women should be held accountable for the same actions. If it's not okay for men to molest, then it should not be okay for women to molest. If it's not okay for men to hit women, then it shouldn't be okay for women to hit men. Plain and simple. And believe me, there are some women out there who get off on this. They're like, the universal victim mentality. I can use this to my advantage. And yeah, there are some women who play that card and they take advantage of it, just like there are some men who take advantage of their privilege in society. And truthfully told, when you see men and women who are taking advantage of their place in society, it makes people just look horrible in general. What do I think of it? I think it's disgusting. I think it's disgusting the way women and men treat each other, the way society thinks. That's what I think about it. Ooh. Well, if you survived this long into the video response, thank you for watching this long. I appreciate it. As always, if you could subscribe to Sydney Watson and to my channel, that'd be greatly appreciated. I happen to be a huge fan of Sydney Watson's. I appreciate the content she puts out. She's able to acknowledge women's side of the bullshit without crapping on her own gender, you know? Sydney Watson can talk about all the crap that women do towards men without crapping on her own gender, you know what I'm saying? She acknowledges that people in general are just horrible to each other. That's a real feminist right there. Gonna have to age restrict this here video because there's alcohol and tobacco use in it. Oh my. But as always, YouTube. Thank you for watching the video response. Thank you for watching. Another question she asked, do you think that female perpetrators are underplayed in our society? Yes. Yes, I do. I was going to throw this can away, but I forgot and I had the trash can over here. Okay. Yes, female perpetrators are underplayed in our society because of the roles that they genuinely have. And the same can be said for men. Male perpetrators are overplayed in our society because of the stereotypes, and women perpetrators are underplayed because of the way their gender-based stereotypes work out. Anyways, YouTube, thank you for watching the video response, and I'll catch you cool cobras later.